Hi witches, welcome to my book review of The Witch's Journal, Charms, Spells, Potions, and Enchantments by Selene Silverwind. So the first thing to know about this book is that it's really a reference book, and it's not meant to be read from first page to last page. This is something you might have on in your collection of books that you can refer to. It has a lot of really good information in it. Some of it you're going to know, some of it you will have heard about before, but what I liked about this was that I got some new information that I'd never heard before. So I'm just going to go through chapter by chapter and tell you my thoughts on this book. So opening chapter is about the common things that you hear, you know, ethics of witchcraft. She talks about the Wiccan Rede, the Law of Three. Well, she doesn't say, the author does not say that this is specifically a book about witchcraft. I'm sorry, Wicca. The fact that she mentions the Wiccan Rede and then the Law of Three, those two things are actually specific to my understanding of what Wicca is. And note about that, you can choose to follow whatever practices you want to incorporate into your own practice. What I really love about witchcraft is that you get to personalize it, which means you get to learn about things and then about that have to do with witchcraft from whatever religion, and then you get to incorporate those into your own practice if you want to. The things that you don't like, you just leave behind. So that's one thing that I really like about witchcraft, and then taking things from Wicca to use. If you don't believe in the Law of Three, you don't have to practice that, and you don't have to believe it, unless you're Wiccan, I guess. So anyway, first chapter, really short, couple of pages about what is magic, types of magic, what's a witch or Wiccan, things like that. We get into chapter one. Chapter one, she starts out with magical correspondences, which I usually see magical correspondences at the backs of books. So I like that she starts at the beginning, because why not? Be different, right? So chapter one, magical correspondences, is about 40 pages. It's a lot. And it has the standard things that you would think about whenever you think about witchcraft, like color associations, you know, chakras. Let's see, what else? There's lots of color stuff. Stones and crystals, herbs and plants. And then the magic of the heavens. So I don't know that I've seen it stated at this, but this is about the planets. So, and their energetic properties and when to use them and how to use them and what kind of spells and so on and so forth. And then she gets into the moon and talks about the moon. Planetary days and hours. She gives you whole charts on that. When to avoid magic, which is something I don't usually see discussed. So this has to do with void of course, which is when the moon is, when it travels through the sign, when it's in between signs. There's a period of time when it changes signs that it's in between signs, and that is called void of course. And I don't usually see that addressed, but so I like that it's in there. I think that's a good thing for witches to know if they're using any kind of magic to, any kind of moon magic, or doing their spells in conjunction with when the moon is in a certain sign. She gets into divine magic and choosing the pantheon that you want to work with, and the fact that you can follow one or many of them. And then she gets into deities, which is something that I do not see enough of in witchcraft books. And based on the groups that I follow, witches are really curious about the deities, and a lot of them want to know, which one do I follow? How do I learn about them? So she has, I'll tell you the ones that she goes through, and she's got like 2 pages. So I'm going to show you just what a page looks like. So this is the page on Celtic deities, And you can see the print is very small, which is annoying for my old eyes, but for you young witches, you'll be fine with that. But it's still readable. However, it's very nicely laid out. So I'm just going to tell you the deities that she covers in here and talks about and educates you about. We have Celtic, Teutonic deities. So these, I never heard of that before. Teutonic deities are a combination of both Germanic and Norse gods. She says the majority of witches working with these gods consider them to be Norse deities. So she talks about those. Then she gets into Egyptian deities and tells you about those. Greek and Roman deities. Chinese deities. Never hear about this. So I love when a new book or when a book references things that you don't typically find in most witchcraft books. And I've never seen in any of the books, and I have a lot of books, I've never seen anybody talk about Chinese deities or African deities, which is her next deity that she covers. And then she gets into Hindu deities. And so that is the magical correspondence section, which is chapter 1, which is about 40 pages. I think that's great. There's a lot of good information in there. A lot of information that you won't normally find in certain books. So, in a lot of beginner witchcraft books or witchcraft books in general. At least the ones that I've read. Let me phrase that. Okay. So chapter 2, we get into magical and divinatory tools, and we go through the normal things that you know about, like, altars and, altars, candles, the athame, a wand. We know about all these things. A chalice, and a cauldron. So I like that what she does. So she's got in the tools section, she's got a page on consecrating your tools, which I don't think enough attention is paid to. A lot of witches have to figure out or learn or look up how to cleanse your tools. It's not something that I've seen in the books that I've read, so I really like that she includes it, and she actually tells you exactly what to do to set up your space, to clear your mind, to meditate for a few minutes, and invoke a god or goddess, and then what you can say as you're consecrating. It's a consecration ritual is what she gives you. And what you'll need for it is a candle, a sage wand, and a dish of salt. And then you just follow what she says to do, which I kind of like. And of course, you can always modify these things to suit your personal preference. I don't think I've ever done anything exactly by the book that somebody has written, because it's based on their experience. And so each one of us brings our own experience with us. So you can modify it if you want to, or feel the need to, or drawn to, or called upon spirit for it. So what I do really like about this, in addition to her giving you things to do, is she actually gives you, like, on candles, there's she teaches you how, or tells you how to make rolled candles, how to make dipped candles, and then of course how to the color associations of candles, which we see all over the place, right? And then the athame, let's see, she talks about making a wand, and then she talks about chalice. So something I've never heard of here is the ceremony of cakes and ale. She says this is informal rituals. It is traditional to complete a spell by performing the ceremony of cakes and ale. And she tells you how to do that if you want to. So some of these are just kind of like, try these practices. If you like them and you want to incorporate them and they make sense in your practice, by all means, include them. If they don't, let them go. Let's see, what else? And she talks about brooms and tells you how to make a broom, exactly how to make it. And then she gets into some, what she calls minor tools, like the pentacle, the bell, a white-handled knife, parchment paper, and then she gets into unusual items, which I really like because you don't, again, see this addressed in a lot of books. So in this section, she tells you how to make a witch's bottle, which is like, it's a protection jar. And you can basically use any jar that you want, but I love what's in here. So nails or needles, skeleton keys, dried garlic, frankincense, pepper, pine needles, black onyx or obsidian chips, sea salt, and vinegar. And then once filled, seal the lid with black candle wax, consecrate it, and then hide it somewhere in your home. So that's a witch's bottle for protection. She talks about some other things that are harder to get, like those skeleton keys. You may not be able to find them. They're kind of rare and hard to find anymore, I think. Cemetery dirt, if you don't have a cemetery by your house or somewhere near you, might be hard to get that. She tells you how to make a poppet and what they are, what they're used for. And I've never heard of a witch ball. So what she says is a witch ball is a gold, green, or blue glass sphere that villagers hung in their windows to ward off evil spirits. You can use a thick glass Christmas ornament instead. In fact, Christmas ornaments originated as witch balls. I've never heard that. I just love when I get new information. So I've never heard that before. Pretty cool. Then she goes into altars. She talks about feng shui, the layout, the feng shui positions, and in your home, which I practice. I know where all my guas are. The guas are the section of your home that are related to different things like family, prosperity, fame, business, and so on. So she talks about that. She tells you how to do an altar blessing. She shows an altar arrangement, but I find altars to be a very personal thing for me anyway, and other people that I know feel the same way. You can have an altar. You can do anything with an altar, basically whatever appeals to you, whatever speaks to you. But she does give you, I think it's probably a standard arrangement. She says traditional ritual altar. Okay. Let's see. She talks about preparing for divination. So this is kind of like the ritual. This is before you're going to do anything to try to bring about a change in your life. So meditating with a quiet mind, creating a divination charm. So I really, these are things that I've just read off that some of them I just don't see that often in the books that I've read. Now, the next part of the divinatory tools are standard stuff that you know. Tarot. She goes through all the tarot cards. Runes. I'm sure you know what runes are or probably heard of them. So she talks about runes, where they come from, how to make them if you want to make your own. She also talks about scrying, which I tried once and I was like, oh, this just isn't for me. I just didn't get anything out of it. But after reading her pages that she wrote on scrying, I want to try it again because she tells you how to make a scrying mirror. And then she tells you how to do, when to do it and how to do scrying. So scrying is when you look into... scrying could be considered a simple form of divination in the sense that it does not require much equipment or memorization. Basically, when I did it, it was like look into the mirror or look into the water. I actually did it with water, with bath water, or water in a sink, although I think I used bath water at the time. But it was like trying to read something out of the water, get a message out of the water. So she tells you how to scry, how to make a scrying mirror, and then she gets into astrology and horoscopes, which again, these are things that we've known about forever. And then she talks about numerology. In her astrology section, not only does she cover Western astrology, but she covers Chinese astrology. There's one page on that, just in case you think you're going to get like a lot of information. But it's going to give you the basics of Chinese astrology. And then she talks about numerology, and that is magical and divinatory tools. So those are all the things that she talks about in there. which I just really like that. You know, I'm on like chapter 3 now of this book, and like I really like this book. First of all, it's very pretty. You know, the way the pages are laid out, and all the different, you know, like we're into spell work now, so this is section 3. So this is what this looks like. It just, you know, it's a nice layout. I like the way things are put together. Okay, so back to the book and the review, and now we were in chapter 3, charms, spells, and potions. Oh my gosh. Okay, there's a lot of stuff in here. There's spell work, circle of life, casting a circle, which a lot of people ask about. There's spell ingredients based on the goal of the spell. So she's got a chart. You can see this here. So this is her reference table for spell ingredients and the goal of the spell, then the day of the week and when you should do it. But it's basically just giving you ingredients at this point. However, then she starts going into the actual spell work. So manifesting spells, and she gives you spells to do. I'm pretty sure there's one of those in here. Yeah, so, a basic manifesting spell. So there's that, instructions for that. And I think what I like the most is, when I read this, was that she gives you specifics about like where your head space should be. In other words, like you need to get into the frame of mind for bringing about a change in your life when you want to do a spell. You can't just take the ingredients that somebody prints off a list and say the words and then expect any kind of outcome to happen, because your heart's not in it, your soul's not in it, your mind's not in it. So whenever you're trying to manifest anything, you really have to be in that space where this is something that you want really bad and you've really thought about it and you're thinking about it and you're like, yes, I want this change in my life. So I like that she covers that. Then she has a binding poppet. So she tells you how to do a binding poppet and what that would be for. I'm just going to read this to you really quick because I like this. If someone has hostile intentions toward you or is spreading malicious gossip about you, then you are within your rights to stop them. However, an eye for an eye is not the right approach. Making a binding poppet does not harm the recipient in any way, but it does stop the person from making mischief for you. A binding poppet should only be made for the person if the person is capable of inflicting real harm. So I kind of like that there's some ethical bend on what she says. Like I said, I follow a lot of witch groups, and there are a lot of questions, frequent questions about how to stop somebody from doing something. You know, you got a nasty landlord, you got a nasty neighbor. Like, how do you make them quit harassing you, bothering you? How do you make the ex quit showing up? So a binding poppet might do the trick. Then love spells. Everybody loves love magic and love spells. But she cautions you, as I do too, and anytime I speak about love spells, is to not try to make someone else fall in love with you. The results could be something that you don't intend, like you can't get rid of them. Once you make them fall in love with you, then you can't make them go away. And what if you realize that you don't really want to be with that person once you have them? Then what do? So there's a caution about using love spells and only using them when you're in a place to not bring, when you're in the right space. So you're not trying to make a particular person fall in love with you, but you're trying to bring love to you. So her spell is called Spell to Meet Your Perfect Partner. So she gives you that spell. Then she goes into some food. She has love charms and then the magic of food. So she's talking about food in here. There are beauty spells. There's a weight loss spell which speaks to my chubby little heart, which I think I'm going to try. And weight loss charms. I'll take any help I can get. And then healing spells. Oh, spells to mend a broken heart. So I've seen that. People asking for that type of help too in the groups. Like, how do I get over somebody? Then house blessing, healing charms. I mean, you know, as I go just further and further into this book, I really love this book. It's so pretty, and I think it could be really very helpful for new witches. Again, back to the spells. I'm just reading friendship spell, career spell, prosperity spell, spells for a raise. And I just love that she gives you, you know, how to make, here's one, how to make a travel charm. And, you know, this is not a really big book. It's like 43 pages. And I think this would make a great reference for any witch's library.